No, no, go ahead. I love the story.
So I left and I went to work for a friend of mine by the name of David. He had a small like IT consulting firm. He helped actually small investment companies set up Bloomberg terminals in their office and get that up and running. And I loved it. Like technology was just coming on and it seemed kind of cool. And he was a nice guy. So I learned a lot about like technology hardware, networking, and back then there was no cloud computing, or really not much cloud computing to speak of. So everybody had like hardwired offices and stuff. So I liked that, and I decided I was going to break out on my own and start my own company, not really knowing much about entrepreneurship. I'd never taken a class in it. I'd never studied it. My grandfather, Joe, owned a small chain of dry cleaning stores when I was a young child. That was really the only experience I had with small business. And he didn't really teach me much. I just went down there and met his customers and used the cash register. And that was kind of fun for me. But I start this company out of my house. Back then, unlike today, it wasn't cool to like work in your house, and it's sort of like people would say to you, "Oh, you work at your house. You must not really have a real company." Back then it was sort of a tag against you. So I build the company up. I get some clients, small accounting firms, law firms, a couple of architects. Really, all of the clients were 10 or fewer employees. And I myself would go in, install computers, get office networking in place, those sorts of things. And then one day, about a year and a half into the process, a friend of mine calls me by the name of Jeff. And he says, "Hey, Andy, I've got this great lead for you. It's a large nonprofit organization in Midtown Manhattan called Encore Community Services. They've got about 70 employees. Their mission is to help homeless, displaced senior citizens living on the Midtown West Side of Manhattan. They're having all kinds of tech issues. Do you want to go down and meet them?" And I said, "Yes, of course, like any business owner would with an opportunity like that." And he said, "Well, I just have to tell you one thing. This organization is run by nuns. They're very nice women. But I just want to give you a heads up about that." And I acted like no problem, thanks, Jeff. I get off the phone. I start sweating because I happen to be Jewish, which has little to do with the story, except for the fact that I had had like zero interaction with nuns my entire life. I didn't know anything about them other than an old television show that used to be on called The Flying Nun, with this actress Sally Fields, and she lived at a convent and she magically could fly. I didn't think nuns flew, but I thought maybe they'd be dressed in one of those outfits, and I didn't know what to expect, but I was nervous. And I went down there to 49th Street to St. Malachi's Church, which is where their headquarters was. And I'm greeted by Sister Lillian and Sister Pat and Sister Elizabeth, who are like dear friends of mine today. And these women, they were like these voracious, impact focused business women. I mean, I had never seen anything like that. They upended my life, to be honest with you, Raghu. I mean, they showed me the importance of serving others and how people that have no one looking out for them need strong advocates in the world. And they were those advocates. And I was just there to kind of work on their tech stuff for like 2.5 days. And every time I would walk by one of the nuns, they would bless me. They'd be, "Oh, bless you, Andy." I was like, "Wow, this is amazing." I've got a client, a pretty large one, and I'm getting blessed constantly by nuns. That can't be a bad thing. So I finish up after about 2.5 days. I'm, really turned on and excited by this work that they're doing. I go back to my home office and I decide not to invoice them. I'm like, you know what? That was really cool. It was worth it for me to just kind of be around that environment. I'm not going to invoice them and just let it go. So about 2 weeks later, I get a phone call from Sister Lillian, and she's mad at me and she's angry, stern. "Andy, you haven't invoiced us. We spoke about this when you were here. you've got two young children, you have bills to pay. We're a large nonprofit with a $40 million budget. We can afford to pay you. You need to. She starts lecturing me about business. And I was like, okay, Sister Lillian, I'll invoice you. I just thought it was nice. No, no, no. You need to invoice us or we'll never hire you again. So I was like, okay, I'll invoice you. So I begrudgingly invoiced them. And it bothered me, it made me feel like, gosh, how many like small nonprofits are there out there that can't afford IT consulting services, but desperately need it. So, like any good entrepreneur like you, I didn't just start serving small nonprofits. I wanted to find out, do they actually need technology consulting services? And like 94% of the people I spoke with did. They just couldn't afford it. So I had to figure out a way to provide IT services for free while at the same time paying all of my bills. And that was how I got involved in social entrepreneurship and really got to scale the business that I'm most proud of to this day.